Almost halfway through the SportsMax zone for this Friday, and we're still talking football. Trinidad and Tobago's most prolific goal scorer, Stern John, is a new head coach of St. Lucia's senior men's team. John was introduced at a press conference on Thursday. The 45-year-old John recently ended a 2-year stint as head coach of Anguilla. John played 115 times for TNT, scoring 70 goals, a tally that puts him 18th on the list of all-time international goal scorers. He admits he has a big job to do.
My job here is to put the strongest team together to represent this country in the upcoming Nations League. One of the reasons for that too as well, we have 2 international games coming up in Trinidad. Like the president said, one against Guyana and one against Trinidad under 20. I think it's a perfect opportunity for me to see the local players and the US-based players as well, and the European players, so I can put a team together, a proper squad together, the strongest squad to represent this country in the Nations League.
Yeah, John admits that things didn't quite go to plan during his Anguilla stint.
I think Angolan job and the St. Lucian job is a totally different job. Angola's ranked in the FIFA ranking, they were ranked last. I think when I was able to go in there in Angola, we were playing against World Cup qualifying competitions that we have no right playing against, to be fair. You're talking about competing against Panama and those teams. Angola will never be in those in their league, if we're being realistic in football. But I think coming to St. Lucia, we have a big pool of players. We have a lot of good players internationally and locally as well too. So we have a lot of better players that we can choose from. And also St. Lucia is ranked a lot better than Angola as well too. So we are in the right place to compete against the likes of Panama and the rest of the world, as we say. So I think it's a good opportunity for me coming here to build a strong team, like I said, to compete for the Nations League.
Yeah, St. Lucia will kick off their CONCACAF Nations League campaign on the 9th of June. They have an away game against Dominica, George and Mariah. Stern John making no bones about the fact that as far as his log as a coach is concerned, St. Lucia gives him a better tool to advance himself than Anguilla did.
Yeah, and as human beings, we all aspire to get to move from one role to another. Nobody wants to go backward, right? And what I get from this situation, based on how he spoke at the press conference, you know, he felt as if he wanted to do more, and St. Lucia offers him that opportunity. Stern John, as a player for Trinidad and Tobago, is somebody that has really contributed and represented the red, white and black. You know, he has occupied different positions as a coach. So I know he had that job at Anguilla. Then he also was an assistant coach for the Trinidad and Tobago football team. He also coached the under-17. So where his coaching skills are concerned, I also think that, you know, he's very fit and capable. I will be very honest too, and I'm still very concerned about the position, and I say that because of the fact that we've sat on this same show many a times speaking to the St. Lucia footballers who were very disgruntled with the system and what was taking place. We've spoken to them, we've watched the protests and whatnot. So that aside, once all those problems are ironed out, I'm happy for Stern John, and I think, you know, he has the right tools and capabilities to help St. Lucia's football get back on the map where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, George, there was a time maybe in the 80s, early 90s when St. Lucia were among the top 5 or 6 teams in the English-speaking Caribbean. Earl Jean, Titus Elva and so on. They are not quite there at the moment. So a big job on Stern John's plate.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 players, Earl Jean and Titus Elva. Up to the point where we had the Caribbean franchise tournament where Jamaica had Kingston Lions and Cornwall County Lions. Of course, it's a competition you know very well because you used to provide the commentary. During that time, right about that time, both men had a fair argument could be made that both those men, 2 St. Lucian footballers, were among the top 10 in the Caribbean or thereabouts. And
that number could actually be smaller, but go ahead.
And that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making. Yeah. So those were 2 outstanding prospects as a mark of how strong St. Lucia's football was. We know that football has been riven by strife in the island since, well, over the past few years, and that the federation has not done well by the players. And I'm wanting to talk about, I'm caught in two minds here. I'm wanting to talk about Stern John and welcome him to the job while dealing with another very important issue that I've been itching to talk about where St. Lucia is concerned, but haven't gotten the chance. So quickly, I'll just say, to add to what both of you have said about Stern John's footballing brain is not, nobody can question it. His dexterity, his skill as a player is well known. One of the greatest players, strikers to play in the history of Major League Soccer. Number 18 on the international list of goal scorers. That's you have to check twice.
Yeah, no mean feat. No mean feat.
Top.
70. It's remarkable, yeah. And his career is still young, and I like the fact that he's making his way. He's striking out. He could have stayed in TNT and tried to pick up this job with this club and hope that the national team opening comes back. But I'm applauding him for being brave, going to Anguilla, where he knew that he was against the odds, and now taking on this job at St. Lucia. It's a step up, and it's a step in the right direction.
He spoke in the press conference about getting some of the overseas-based players.
And they have a lot of those. They have a lot of... In fact, I'm not interrupting you. Per capita, St. Lucia, I think, has more English-based and British-based players with St. Lucian links than perhaps any other nation in the CFU.
Yeah.
That's the strength
I think
of it.
he was directing his thing a lot about the European-based players, as you have mentioned, and the local ones as well.
Yeah.
Not sure if the Jamaica-based players in the Premier League at the moment will be a part of the current setup. Vino Bartlett, the Cavalier goalkeeper, very outstanding goalkeeper. Melvin Doxley was one of the most outstanding Cavalier players on their way to the title last year.
And two more at Portmore. Javik McFarlane and Alvinus Myers.
Yeah, so these are players we see week in, week out in the Jamaica Premier League that are pretty solid players. But Mariah touched on something which I think will be very important to Stern John and the success that he will have here with this job, because the players have been disgruntled. There's no question about that. We've heard from them, and they have been disgruntled over the past couple of years at the administration of the sport in the country and their non-participation in the last cycle of World Cup qualifying. And that is probably the first job that Stern John has to do to resuscitate the sort of energy among the players and give them some hope.
Yeah, but look, short time we have left, but here's the thing. What is happening here, the appointment of Stern John can only be good for St. Lucia's football. And separate and apart from the appointment of the man who I have confidence in, and I hope he does very well, and I want St. Lucia's football to remain strong. What is true, this could be seen as a political move by a president who's not done well in managing relationships, a president who's not done well by the country's football, brings in a big name and gets everybody feeling good again, gets a new term in office because elections are close enough. And I see that as an electioneering move. And there was a story some time ago that Lyndon Cooper gave an interview in which he was quoted as saying he had sued SportsMax and yours truly for slander and for things that we had said on this show about his stewardship and everything.
Where was the article?
The article was published, I think, in a St. Lucia newspaper. That's where it originated.
St. Lucia, The Voice.
Yeah, and picked up by several other news agencies. And I'm sure people would have watched the show to hear what we would have said and saw that we said nothing and would have said what is true. First of all, the quality of journalism around this story deserves question and leaves a lot to be desired, because nobody has called anybody at SportsMax to ask if we have been sued, as Lyndon Cooper alleges, or asked me if I have been sued.
Have you?
On this day in sports, no. And in my time as a journalist, and it's not as long as Lance, it's 30 plus years, but it's 17 years now, so it's long enough. And coming from hard news to here, I've never seen anybody in my life, whether local or overseas, give an interview that they're suing somebody without telling the person that they're suing them. So Lyndon Cooper has flown a kite, people in St. Lucia. He's misled you. He's told a lie. There's no lawsuit against SportsMax or yours truly. And he would have no grounds to sue anyway. And I don't know why he did that. Maybe he was trying to call off the dogs of war that had attended to his non-performance as president and the fact that St. Lucia's football was in trouble under his guiding hand. But today is not the day for that. But I'm just relishing the opportunity to set the record straight on that count. Today is a day to welcome Stern John and to hope that he's given the tools to help the team to do its best. Lyndon Cooper, you're a cheeky fellow. I'm looking at you. Take a break. We'll come back with more on the SportsMax Zone.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news, and entertainment.